The placement of the moon in the 8th house of a natal chart is perhaps one of the most profound, intense, and psychologically complex configurations an individual can possess. Often referred to as the house of other people's money, death, and regeneration, the 8th house is traditionally ruled by Scorpio and Pluto. When the moon, the luminary representing our emotional core, subconscious, and sense of safety resides here, the inner life becomes a deep-sea expedition. There is no such thing as a shallow emotion for these individuals. Every feeling is felt with a tidal force that can either drown or divine. The psychological landscape, feeling beneath the surface. For a person with an 8th house moon, the emotional world is intrinsically linked to the hidden undercurrents of reality. You likely possess a psychic radar that picks up on what others are trying to hide, unspoken tensions, secrets, and the true motivations behind people's actions. This can be both a gift and a burden. On one hand, you are rarely fooled by social facades. On the other, this constant hyper-awareness can make it difficult to feel truly safe or relaxed. Safety, for you, is found through intimacy and depth. While others might find comfort in a stable home or a routine, you find comfort in knowing. You need to understand the mechanics of the soul, both your own and those of the people you love. There is an inherent attraction to the taboo, the occult, or the psychological, as these subjects provide a language for the intensity you feel daily. The mother archetype and early conditioning. In astrology, the moon represents the mother or the primary caregiver. With the moon in the 8th house, the relationship with the mother often carries a heavy, transformative, or even scorpionic quality. You may have perceived your mother as a powerful, secretive, or emotionally overwhelming figure. In some cases, there may have been a sense of crisis surrounding the maternal bond, or perhaps the mother underwent significant trauma that you subconsciously absorbed. This upbringing often teaches the child that emotions are high stakes. You may have learned early on to keep your feelings guarded as a survival mechanism, leading to a poker face that hides a turbulent inner world. As an adult, this translates into a need for total trust before you reveal your vulnerabilities. You don't just date, you merge. You don't just like people, you bond with them on a cellular level. Intimacy, trust, and power. The 8th house governs shared resources and the merging of energies. When the moon is here, your emotional well-being is often tied to your closest partnerships. However, because the 8th house is also the house of power struggles, there can be a fear of being controlled or manipulated through your emotions. The fear of loss. There is often an underlying anxiety about abandonment or the death of a relationship. This can lead to possessiveness or a desire to soul-bind a partner so they can never leave. The alchemical bond. When you find someone you trust, the relationship becomes a laboratory for transformation. You seek a partner who isn't afraid to go into the dark with you, someone who can handle your intensity without flinching. Financial sensitivity. Because the 8th house deals with legacies and debts, your emotions may fluctuate based on your financial security or your partner's resources. You might experience significant emotional shifts during inheritance matters or joint financial ventures. Crisis is a catalyst for growth. Perhaps the most remarkable trait of the 8th house moon is the ability to regenerate. You are the phoenix of the zodiac. While others might be destroyed by emotional crises, you have a strange, quiet competence in the face of disaster. You are often the person others turn to when their lives are falling apart because you are not afraid of the shadows. You likely go through periodic ego deaths, phases where your old emotional identity is burned away to make room for a more empowered version of yourself. These transitions are painful, involving deep grieving and introspection, but you emerge with a wisdom that is far beyond your years. You understand the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth better than almost anyone else. Navigating the depths. Advice for the 8th house moon. To find peace with this placement, you must learn the difference between intensity and drama. Because you are wired for deep feeling, you might unconsciously create crises just to feel alive or to test the strength of a bond. Learning to sit with stillness without suspecting a hidden threat is a major part of your evolutionary journey. Developing a healthy outlet for your investigative nature. such as psychology, research, or the healing arts, can help channel this energy productively. By turning your gaze inward and doing the shadow work voluntarily, you move from being a victim of your intense emotions to being a master of your own subconscious. You are here to learn that true power doesn't come from controlling others or guarding your heart, but from the fearless vulnerability of knowing yourself completely. When the moon resides in the 8th house, its expression is heavily colored by the zodiac sign it occupies. This sign dictates the flavor of your emotional intensity and how you handle the process of transformation. Aries, emotions are explosive and urgent. You may experience sudden psychological breakthroughs or impulsive urges to burn it all down and start over. There is a courageous, almost warrior-like approach to facing your shadows. Taurus, you seek absolute security in your shared bonds. There can be a deep-seated fear of change or financial instability. You crave a tangible, physical manifestation of loyalty and may struggle with letting go of old emotional wounds. Gemini, you analyze your depths rather than just feeling them. You may use intellectualism as a shield against intense vulnerability. Transformation often comes through uncovering secrets, research, or changing your perspective through information. Cancer, here, the moon is in its home sign but in a challenging house. This is a highly psychic and sensitive placement. You are deeply protective of your inner world and possess a profound mothering instinct toward those in crisis. Leo, emotional drama is heightened. You need to feel like a hero in your own dark night of the soul. There is a strong desire for your partner to see and validate your deepest, most hidden self, treating your intimacy as something sacred and grand. Virgo, you approach the subconscious with a scalpel. You want to fix, refine, and solve your emotional trauma. You may be the person people call during a crisis because you are pragmatically helpful when things get messy. Libra, your emotional balance is entirely dependent on the health of your closest intimate bonds. You seek fairness in the exchange of energy and resources, and you may find your greatest transformations occur through the mirror of a partner. Scorpio, fall. This is arguably the most intense placement in the entire zodiac. Emotions are all or nothing. You have an incredible capacity for rebirth, but you must guard against paranoia, obsession, and the urge to control others to feel safe. Sagittarius, you look for the meaning in suffering. You may travel or study philosophy to understand death and the afterlife. Your transformations are often spurred by a quest for truth or a need for total freedom from emotional entanglements. Capricorn, detriments. You are the stoic in the face of crisis. You tend to repress deep emotions in favor of maintaining control and competence. For you, intimacy is a serious responsibility, and you build emotional trust slowly over time. Aquarius, you possess a detached, almost clinical view of the taboo. You may feel like an outsider looking in on your own trauma. You find security in being unique and may seek unconventional arrangements regarding shared resources or intimacy. Pisces, the boundaries between your emotions and the collective are thin. You are an emotional sponge, often absorbing the trauma of others. You find healing through spirituality, art, and the belief that all souls are ultimately connected. While a natal 8th house moon describes a lifetime of depth, the transit of the moon through the 8th house, which occurs for about 2.5 days every month, acts as a recurring emotional reset button. It is a brief but potent window where the veil between the conscious and subconscious thins, pulling your attention away from the external world and toward the intricate machinery of your inner life. The monthly descent, emotional introversion. When the transiting moon enters the 8th house, there is often a palpable shift in your social battery. You may find yourself feeling more withdrawn, sensitive, or even heavy without a clear external cause. This is because the 8th house is the realm of the unseen. The moon here acts as a deep sea diver, illuminating the debris at the bottom of your psyche. Heightened intuition, your spidey senses are at their peak. You are more likely to pick up on the unspoken subtext in conversations, sensing the moods, secrets, or hidden agendas of those around you. Need for solitude. This is not a time for surface-level socializing. Small talk can feel physically draining or irritating. You may feel a strong urge to retreat into a private space where you don't have to perform or maintain a persona. Vulnerability and loneliness. Because the 8th house deals with the merging of souls, a transit here can trigger a temporary sense of isolation. You might feel that your needs aren't being met or that others are being emotionally distant, even if nothing has changed. Power dynamics and shared resources. The 8th house is traditionally associated with other people's money and shared assets. During this transit, matters regarding debts, taxes, inheritances, or joint bank accounts may demand your attention. However, because it is the moon, the planet of emotion, passing through, these financial matters are rarely just about the numbers. They are often tied to power and control. You might find yourself ruminating on the fairness of a partnership or feeling a sudden surge of protectiveness over your resources. If there have been simmering tensions regarding who holds the power in a relationship, they are likely to reach a boiling point during these few days. It is a time when the cost of your attachments becomes clear. Psychological purgation, the clearing of the pipes. Think of the 8th house moon transit as a monthly plumbing check for the soul. It brings up repressed feelings, jealousy, grief, desire, or fear, not to punish you, but to be processed and released. If you have been avoiding a difficult truth, the transit will likely force you to confront it. While this can feel like a crisis, it is actually a regeneration. Once the moon moves into the 9th house, you often feel a sense of lightness and expansion, as if a weight has been lifted. The 8th house transit is the tunnel you must pass through to reach that wider perspective. Navigating the transit. Because the 8th house is a water house, the best way to handle this transit is to flow rather than fight. Avoid important financial decisions. Emotions are too heightened and biased during these 2 days. Wait until the moon moves into a more objective sign or house before signing contracts. Lean into shadow work. This is the best time for therapy, journaling, or deep meditation. Your subconscious is talking, all you have to do is listen. Practice emotional hygiene. If you feel overwhelmed by others' energies, use salt baths or grounding exercises to clear your field. You are an emotional sponge right now, be mindful of what you're soaking up. In essence, the moon's transit through the 8th house is a brief invitation to die to your old self. It is a reminder that in order to grow, we must be willing to let go of the emotional baggage that no longer serves us. It is the quiet, intense preparation for the rebirth that follows. Subscribe, like, and share.